Hello and welcome to LSJ Weekly. I'm Grace Thompson.
And I'm Ailsa Adams. Our top stories this afternoon. How safe do you feel walking around the streets at night without any streetlights? We spoke to a young woman in Lincoln to discuss how unsafe they feel at walking home at night.
A theatre group in Gainsborough has combined the love of theatre for those struggling with their mental health.
And are you aware of the term fast fashion? Find out how the University of Lincoln Students' Union have been raising money as well as saving the environment.
And we'll be catching up with LSJ Trending to find out the latest stories on social media.
All that and more coming up on LSJ Weekly.
Women in Lincoln have told LSJ Weekly that they don't feel safe walking around the city at night.
And that's because streetlights are being turned off, which is saving Lincolnshire County Council millions and is better for the environment. Samantha Ramsbottom reports.
My house is on one of the roads where they have no streetlights, so the more I was going around looking for places to park, the more I was getting freaked out that I had to leave my car and walk in the dark home. And it got to a point where I was so scared and so frantic that I had to ring my boyfriend to make him literally walk all the way home with me just so I could get into bed. It shouldn't be like this. There should be lights everywhere. I would have been so much more comfortable if there were lights, and it's just not acceptable, basically.
It's pitch black and you don't know what's around every corner. Have you experienced that late night walk home when that little bit of light can act as your safety blanket? In 2016, Lincolnshire County Council turned off more than half of its 68,000 streetlights in its part-night lighting scheme. This has saved the council £2.5 million in annual electricity costs and has reduced carbon emissions by 6,200 metric tonnes a year, the equivalent of driving a car around the earth 4,000 times. Councillor Richard Davies gave this statement. There's no evidence that the change to part-night lighting affected the crime rate in Lincolnshire, but we can now see that it has had a marked effect on cutting the impact on the environment. I spoke to a local resident who addressed her concerns about the streetlights.
Why do you think it scares you walking around at night when there's no lights?
I think it's the fear of the unknown, you can't see around, so anything could be ahead of you and you can't see. And I think as well, with almost the world the way it is, you've got to kind of trust nobody but yourself. And if you've got no phone or very little phone, and if you're completely on your own and there's no cars around, especially when it's at night, if something was to happen, no one would see.
Many women who live in the city have also expressed their concerns about the streetlights and have been vocal on social media about how they're frightened to walk around at night without them. So though the economy and the environment are both big topics for local government at the moment, are they important enough to compromise safety? Sammy Ramsbottom, LSJ Weekly.
Linking nicely to that story, the University of Lincoln are hosting a night march to make a statement about sexual harassment and violence against any gender this Friday. A company in Gainsborough have set up a theatre group designed to help people suffering with their mental health.
Stepping Stone Theatre are encouraging people to come along to their daytime drop-in sessions where they can act, sing and dance in a safe environment. Here's Nikita Sasha-Manate with more.
Stepping Stone Theatre are offering daytime drop-in sessions to help improve mental health within the community. Their company is aimed to mental health users, carers, healthcare workers, family and friends, with the main focus being to enhance well-being through creativity. With the help of funding from the Lincolnshire Partnership NHS Foundation Trust, Bill and Kate Rogers founded the company in Gainsborough, inspired by Kate's personal journey with bipolar and depression.
Mental health is an ever-growing problem here in the UK. Approximately 1 in 4 people per day suffer with mental health related issues. I'm here at Stepping Stone Theatre to speak to members of the crew to find out their experiences with mental health.
So I first got diagnosed with mental health issues 17 years ago. It all happened around the same time as my granddad dying. I split up with my ex-partner. I got evicted from the property I lived in and I ended up spending a year on the streets.
I had my first experience of mental ill health when I was 24. I'd just come out of university and I was going to start a job in Grimsby. And then 3 months later, I became psychotic and just had a complete nervous breakdown.
I've had mental health probably most of my life, really, without realising it. It started off with depression, and I've got personality disorders, which have sort of come out later in life. They've always been sort of under the surface. So yeah, now it's a case of just sort of managing things, really.
My own experience of becoming mentally ill started when I was about 25. And it was basically, I burnt the candle at both ends. I wasn't sleeping, I was running around, I was drinking too much, and I didn't see the signs coming.
I spoke with Bill to find out more about how important it is to address your mental health concerns.
First of all, if you think there's something wrong with you, if you think you're having any kind of mental health issue, don't suffer in silence. The royal family heads together, time to talk. Everybody now is highlighting the issues, and the main thing, from my point of view, as a communicator, whether it be Stepping Stone, or whether it be mental health groups, or whether it be any other charity in the country that deals with this, don't suffer in silence. Ask for help. Talk to people. It's overtaken the common cold for days off work in college and universities. Don't suffer in silence.
Stepping Stone Theatre want to promote their knowledge and resources in and around Lincolnshire, specifically to university students struggling with their mental health. Nikita Sashamanate, LSJ Weekly.
That's a really lovely story, that. And I went along with Nikita to actually film that, and the environment was just such a lovely place to be, and it just felt so welcoming, so it was a really nice thing for people to be doing.
Oh, that's really good.
So now fast fashion is a popular topic spoken amongst many people when it comes to buying new clothes off the rack in retail stores.
The term fast fashion is mainly used by retailers worldwide for clothing designs that move along from catwalks to the sales. This has raised eyebrows due to the environmental corners that are cut to make a bigger profit.
I went along to the University of Lincoln Students' Union earlier this week to talk about the campaign, who are running to raise money as well as saving the environment at the same time. There are many things we can do to stay green, by cycling into work or grabbing a reusable cup for your morning caffeine kick. But when it comes to clothes, how can we be more sustainable? The University of Lincoln Students' Union has dedicated this last week to Green Week, which is making students think about the environmental impact it has on our planet. Their first event, Rags for Rag, has been set up not to only combat fast fashion fads, but also to raise money for some very worthy causes.
So the student leaders work really closely with RAG. This year they're raising for cardiac risk in the young, which is our charity of the year as a union. So we wanted to raise some money and say no to fast fashion, so why not come together to do it?
Students were encouraged to purchase pre-loved clothes for the cost of just £1 each, a small price to pay for clothes which have a bit more life left in them. But how is getting a new item of clothing going to encourage students to continue to be green after the week of campaigning?
Green Week is really important because it's about sustainability on campus, but also beyond campus and how students can get involved with that. And as a week as a whole, then just come and take part in the opportunities. We've got our Go Green Instagram challenge and Twitter challenge, where you can win a NutriBullet. So that's a really cool opportunity. If you commit to doing something and go green, then you can win one. And yeah, we've just got lots of opportunities.
So whether you refresh those clothes at the back of your wardrobe or recycle on the regular, every little change can make the difference. Grace Thompson, LSJ Weekly.
Did you manage to get any bargains while you were there then?
Unfortunately, I didn't. I did spot one coat that was £1 and I should have got it, but next time I'll definitely be grabbing something off the rails for sure.
Good. Still to come on today's show, we'll be looking into the impacts that vaping has on our health.
We give you the latest updates on the coronavirus after yesterday's Prime Minister's questions.
And what are the children of Lincolnshire dressing up as for World Book Day?
There are 2 weeks left for the Century or the Valeur exhibition at the collection here at Lincoln.
The exhibition will include the Victorian Cross and stories of bravery during major periods in Lincolnshire's military history. Visitors are able to see the medal, previously owned by pilot Guy Gibson, as well as other artefacts that tell the story of bravery during both the World Wars and the Cold War.
All the exhibits and the stories that we tell in here have a Lincolnshire connection, and it's really quite amazing just how many examples of bravery we've managed to find. Not just the obvious ones of people flying aircraft under difficult circumstances, but less obvious ones like carrier pigeons that brought messages back from the front line and firefighters who save lives and equipment out in austere circumstances.
Health officials should take better responsibility when providing information to the public about vaping, according to a professor at the University of Lincoln.
Kevin Akmadi is researching the effects of vaping and says the information available to the public is not always consistent. There's over 3 million vapers in the UK, and e-cigarettes can also pose a harm to health, just like smoking.
So let's look at electronic cigarettes and vaping with skepticism. Let's not advertise them as a 95% safer or less harmful alternative. Let's be cautious. Let's make sure that we are not advertising for something that later on we say, by the way, it was a mistake.
And now it's time for all the sports news across Lincolnshire. Here's Whitney Jones with your weekly roundup.
England were eliminated from the Women's T20 World Cup without a ball being bowled. The heavy rain left huge puddles on the Sunday cricket ground pitch, washing out Thursday's semi-final against India. And in Olympic news, Japan's Olympic President Thomas Bach has shut down speculation that the Summer Games could be postponed until later in the year amid fears over the coronavirus outbreak. Bach said the International Olympic Committee would not speculate on any kind of future developments. The Games are due to be held from the 24th of July to the 9th of August. Here in Lincoln, the Ints are back in action with a home match against Burton Albion on Saturday. Lincoln City will be hoping to change their fortune, having been unlucky in recent fixtures, not winning a game since the 18th of January. Manager Michael Appleton confirms that Jason Shackle has no future with the club.
No, I mean, there's a discussion at the minute with the football club and its representatives. And I think it was a discussion that happened with myself and Shax, which was very amicable, very honest, and an outcome that I think suits all parties.
Lincoln City are dealing with a striker shortage after Tyrese John Jules was ruled out for the rest of the season. The on-loan Arsenal player suffered a fractured bone in his foot during a game against Sheffield United.
Massive blow. But it's a big blow for us, for the player, for the squad, for everybody. But I think first and foremost, I hope he gets himself sorted as quick as he possibly can.
And in cycling, the Lincoln Grand Prix has been rescued by a last-minute sponsor after fears that it would be cancelled. Our social media editor Chloe Groom has more on the story.
The UK's oldest cycling race was scheduled to be cancelled this year due to lack of funding. Rafa, a British clothing brand, stepped in and will be the lead sponsor for the next 2 years. Dan Elmore, the organiser of Lincoln GP, said, "It would be a huge loss to the calendar. It's known as the one riders want to win." It's welcome news for a sport gripped with fears that events could be cancelled because of the coronavirus, and means this race, which has been on the calendar since 1956, will be on the streets of Lincoln once again.
Thank you, Chloe, and that's all for your sport now.
Over the last few weeks, we've been giving you updates on the spread of the coronavirus.
Now called COVID-19, the virus has spread across the world today, and 3 new cases were reported in Scotland, bringing the total number of cases to 90 in the UK.
Yesterday, Boris Johnson took to the floor of the House of Commons as he fended off questions about the government's plans to tackle the virus.
I think it might be for the advantage of the right honourable gentleman and the House if I update the House on where we are with the coronavirus outbreak. And as yesterday's plan made clear, we're not at the point yet where we are asking large numbers of people to self-isolate, but that, of course, may come if large numbers of people have the symptoms of coronavirus. And if they stay...
The Prime Minister also announced changes to statutory sick pay in order to help those affected by the virus or those who may be self-isolating.
So I can today announce that the Health Secretary will bring forward, as part of our emergency coronavirus legislation, measures to allow the payment of statutory sick pay from the very first day you were sick instead of 4 days under the current rules. And I think that's the right way forward. Nobody should be penalised, Mr. Speaker, for doing the right thing.
Mr. Speaker.
Now Public Health England are continuously monitoring the situation and are currently saying that any travellers from Category 1 countries should self-isolate, even if they don't appear to have any symptoms.
Category 1 areas include Wuhan City and the Hubei province of China, where the virus originated. Areas in Iran, South Korea and Italy have also been affected.
Meanwhile, travellers from Category 2 areas are advised they don't need to take any special measures unless they develop symptoms, at which point they should call 111.
The list of Category 2 countries has now expanded to include the Laos, Myanmar, Cambodia and Vietnam.
The current advice from Public Health England is to make sure you thoroughly wash your hands with warm water and soap for at least 20 seconds.
A good way to get the right amount of time is to sing happy birthday to yourself twice.
Remember, if you think you might have the virus, please don't go to hospital or your GP. Instead, ring 111.
Now, Ailsa, I don't know about you, but I'm glued to my phone constantly, and it's because of social media, and I just can't seem to put my phone down, obviously.
Well, I'm glad it's not just me, because I'm exactly the same, and I just find that I get all my news now through social media. So thankfully, we've got Carter Jones and Alexandra Keane here to talk us through what's been happening on social media.
Hello and welcome to LSJ Trending, where we give you a whistle-stop tour of everything that's been happening on social media in the past week.
Now earlier this week, Hugo Boss, not to be confused with the German fashion brand, caused a lot of controversy on social media this week. If you're confused, don't worry, because so am I.
You may know this guy as Joe Lycett, but he's now legally changed his name to Hugo Boss after it was revealed the international fashion brand has been suing companies with Boss in their names.
Joe Lycett tweeted that Hugo Boss makes £2.7 billion a year and criticises the suing as it costs small businesses thousands of pounds in legal fees and the rebranding of them. He attaches the legal document at the bottom, which gives all of the details of his legal name change.
Paul Chuckle took to Twitter to joke that he owns a bag depicting the Hugo Boss logo. He tweeted saying, "Hi mate, just realised I had one of your suit bags."
And the issue of climate change has been a hot topic on social media too this week. In Bristol, Greta Thunberg led youth strikes in a climate march.
This tweet shows a video of hundreds of people who line the streets of Bristol to express their views on climate change. Clearly, this means a lot of people, not just in Bristol, but across the whole of the country, care about this issue.
And a lot of great images popped up on Twitter and Instagram of the march, including this post on Instagram by Gallery Beautiful with all the banners. One that stuck out for me was, we'll go back to school when you keep our planet cool. So obviously, children staying off school until the issue of climate change is sorted out.
Yeah. As we reported earlier, there have been a large number of confirmed cases of coronavirus this week. As you can imagine, there's been a lot of coverage of this on social media, especially in reaction to the news that the producers of the new James Bond film, No Time to Die, have announced the release date of the film has been delayed until November this year, instead of April.
Now, here in Lincolnshire, there have been scenes of spring this week in the county. Before Storm Yorgay hit at the weekend, this photo was taken in a field near Lincoln. It's daffodils, maybe a bit of foreshadow for what's to come weather-wise. We'll have to find out about that later on in the weather. But it's good to be a little bit of optimism.
Yeah, definitely.
Isn't it?
Now, Twitter has announced a brand new feature that you may already recognise from social media apps like Snapchat, Instagram and Facebook.
They're introducing fleets that last for 24 hours and are not the same as usual tweets, as you can probably see behind me. They're just sharing thoughts that go on similar to Snapchat and Instagram stories, and you can't share them with others, so it's a bit of a different approach to social media.
This Roman brooch has been sparking debate across social media for the past day. The copper brooch was found in Lincolnshire by Armed Forces veteran Jason Price and is meant to resemble a horse. However, people have taken to social media saying how they believe it rather resembles a dog or even a dinosaur.
Do you think this brooch resembles a horse or something else? Join in with the conversation using the hashtag LSJ Trending. And don't forget you can follow us on Twitter at LSJ Tweets. Bye for now.
Over the last week, our team has been gathering photos of the weather from across Lincolnshire. And as you can see from these snaps, we've definitely been hit by all sorts.
The country has reached the end of Storm Kira and Jorge and moved into sunnier spells, making it almost feel like spring. But the outlook for the next week is not looking too bright. But here's Andrew Norris with your LSJ weather report.
Thanks, Grace. Thankfully, here in Lincoln, we seem to have seen the end of Storm Kira and Storm Jorge, which caused severe rainfall and flooding across parts of the country. And despite some on social media saying that Storm Ellen had arrived, the Met Office reassured everyone that no weather front has yet been named Storm Ellen, meaning this will be the name of the next storm to hit. Interestingly, the Met Office has an A to Z of names which it holds ready for the next storm. Although in order to keep touch with the American system, the letters Q, U, X, Y and Z aren't used. Now back in Lincoln, as you can see behind me, today doesn't look like it's going to be as nice of a day as we've been able to enjoy recently. And we're expecting to see this light cloud cover to disappear over the day, leaving a chance we might see some sunny spells as temperatures hit highs of around about 8 degrees. Unfortunately, these sunny spells won't be lasting long, as we might see some light showers and fog patches as we move into this evening. And we're expecting to see temperatures drop to around -2, so make sure you're still wrapping up properly. This fog will continue into tomorrow morning, with some cloud cover and scattered showers are expected to develop into the afternoon as we see temperatures hit highs of around 9 degrees. While the rain seems to have just about stopped here in Lincoln, there is still a flood warning issued by the Met Office in Grantham. But moving into next week, it looks like we're going to see some strong winds and heavy rain return, although we might see some sunny spells, but it's more likely to be rain for the end of next week. That's all for your LSJ weather update.
And finally, children at schools and nurseries across Lincolnshire are celebrating World Book Day today by dressing up as their favourite characters.
Other schools suggested children create pictures from their favourite books instead to keep the focus on reading. Here are some children from Lincolnshire who are celebrating World Book Day.
For World Book Day at Pinchbecky's Primary School, we had to make a play of our favourite character of our own stories.
I'm yours, Dinosaur. Hi, I'm William, and for today, I'm going to bring this book into school to show and tell.
For World Book Day?
For World Book Day. Hi, my name's Sophia, and for World Book Day, we've got to take in a book that we really enjoyed, and I like this book because it's a poem.
Oh, it looks like they're having a great day, doesn't it? Who would you dress up as for World Book Day, Grace?
May sound a bit weird, but I would dress up as a rabbit called Lettuce because my dad would read the ballerina stories to me and actually went on all these adventures, so that's one that stuck out for me. So a rabbit, basically. But what about you?
Well, it's a real shame that we can't see that. I think I'd go for Miss Trunchbull and rock a bit of a top knot on my head.
I mean, each to their own, I guess. But that's all for now from us two here at LSJ Weekly. But don't forget, you can keep up to date with us on social media.
You can follow us on Twitter at LSJ Tweets or find us on Facebook and Instagram at LSJ News TV.
We hope you have a very good evening.
Bye for now.